Have you always struggled with diets? You get some weight off and then you put it back on and you have to start all over again, looking for the next thing to get rid of your gut. Did you know that 95% of diets fail? I want you to forget everything you know about dieting because I've cracked the code to staying lean without these fad diets. Just like the hundreds of successful men that I've helped, I'm going to uncover the secrets. The same secrets the weight loss industry doesn't want you to know. The truth is, successful men aren't dieting at all. They're doing something completely different. And today, I'm revealing their secret, and trust me, it's not what you think. They've learned that there's a better way to achieve their weight and health goals, and that's where we're going to explore in this video. Here's the thing, after 25 plus years in the health, fitness, and weight loss industry, I've noticed something different with men that have success with getting to their healthy weight and staying there. Dieting doesn't usually last, and it's ultimately ineffective in the long run. Instead, they've mastered something far more powerful, and today I'm going to be breaking down exactly what they do differently. Before we dive deep into this, let me give you some quick context. My name's Andrew Jacks. I'm an online weight loss coach for Busy Dad, working for Six Pack Dad, and I've helped over 380 busy professional men transform their health and weight without crazy restrictions or following the latest fad diet, which I see far too often. I've seen what works and what doesn't in the real world, not just in theory. I'm a busy dad myself of 3 young children, and it's what's worked for me over the years too. There's a clear pattern that separates the winners from everyone else. So if you're tired of feeling restricted, struggling with motivation, and achieving temporary results that never last, having information overwhelmed, not sure what's right, what's wrong, because you've tried this and you've tried that, and you're still not where you want to be, then you're in the right place. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why successful men avoid diets and what they do instead to achieve long-term health and a lean physique. I understand that dieting can be a real challenge, especially for busy men. We're constantly being told to eat less, to exercise more, and to sacrifice our favorite foods and our time as well for the sake of getting lean, which makes it really challenging. But the truth is, traditional diets are often built on shaky ground, and they may not work for people like us that are busy dads due to different things that we go through compared to the general public. Now, have you ever tried or started a diet only to find yourself giving up after a few weeks? You're not alone, because I see this happen time and time again, and I'm sick of it. The majority of men who start a diet will fail, and it's not just because they're not motivated or dedicated. It's because diets are often unsustainable and they're unrealistic. I know because most of the men that I help have tried every diet under the sun and ended up putting that weight back on. So I want to reveal to you why diets don't last, why you shouldn't rely on them, and what you can do instead. Now, the first reason is that diets require major changes that are made to one's lifestyle, such as family and social life. Particularly a professional dad with a busy schedule, it usually isn't sustained for long enough, and it causes disruptions and becomes more difficult to adapt to. And so when it becomes too hard to adapt to all those major changes, you're like, no, this doesn't work for me. I can't do it. I need to do something else. Or I just stop doing it and just go back to the way that I used to be. So what is the solution to this? What can we do to avoid this from happening? We need to not find something that doesn't require us to make major changes, where we're having to completely change our meals entirely, where our partners may have to cook something entirely different, or yourself, or even having to eat separately or at separate times. That's not the sort of thing that's going to be working for the long time, and that's not the thing that you should have to do. It's not enjoyable. Rather, you just fine-tune what you're currently doing, right? For example, if you have a home-cooked meal at home with your family and your wife's cooked it, let's just say, there could be some ways that you can change the choices to leaner choices. For example, having a steak, one cut of steak could be worse than having a leaner cut of steak. So there's different ways you can do that. Or even things like having, if you enjoy mashed potato, there's ways that you can cook that where it's leaner and lower in fat. Or even things like chips too. Instead of having deep fried chips, you can have air fried chips. So these are some things that you can do. But there's other areas that you need to be making incremental changes and fine tuning that involve your health habits. So things like your sleep, your snacking, your water intake, your alcohol intake, and I've already mentioned meals too. So that's the thing that you need to do. You also need to work it into your current schedule and not follow a rigid plan. Plan your meals around your most important meetings or your tasks for the day, and make sure that they fit into that as well. And even keep healthy snacks within arm's reach, so that way, if you can't have a meal at that desired time when you're starting to feel hungry, you can at least have a healthy snack to get you over to the next meal. You also need something that is going to work in with your lifestyle. So it works in with your social gatherings, so it's not completely restrictive, or even if you're having a corporate lunch, family outings, and this requires strategy around it. So you need to find a strategy that works in with these things. For example, with corporate lunches, you should find a place where you're eating, or do some research on the menu beforehand, so that way you're knowing the right place to go to and what choices you can have. And you can even ask the staff there at the restaurant, if you're going to one, if they can modify the meal for you, which shouldn't be a problem. The other reason why diets don't last is that they're not enjoyable. And that way, because it's not enjoyable, it's much more difficult to stick to and sustain for long. And because when you are restricted with certain foods that you can't have, you're constantly thinking about that rather than what you can. And you're depriving yourselves of the food that you love. And you're setting yourself up for failure. And even if you do manage to lose that weight, it's often temporary, because if you can't sustain it, you go back to your old ways, and then those normal eating habits that you had before ends up you putting the weight back on as well. So what do you do instead here, right? You need to include the food and drink that you love with a level of balance that still gets results. So if you want to go to an extreme diet, you might get extreme results, but it won't last. But if you do nothing, you'll get no results. So you need to find that happy medium. So it's not about perfection, it's about balance and moderation. And I've given you some examples already regarding different cuts of meat. You can still enjoy a steak, but have a leaner cut of steak, or even things like the chips that I mentioned. Or if it's something like alcohol, if you enjoy drinking alcohol, you don't have to cut it out completely. You can have a quantity or a frequency in a way where you're still enjoying it, still having that taste, not being deprived of it, but getting results at the same time. And that's where you need to work out what balance works for you. Now, if a diet requires too much constant effort as well, like tracking calories, macros, and weighing food, which also requires more time, that becomes harder to sustain for life. I have a lot of people come to me that have said, I couldn't count calories for too long, I didn't like it, I couldn't stick to it every day, and therefore I couldn't track what I was doing. So you need to find a way where you're understanding what your body needs to eat accordingly. For example, when you're eating and you start to feel full, then stop eating. Don't keep eating, even if there's food on your plate. And next time, adjust the amount of food that's on your plate accordingly. Or only eating when you actually start to feel hungry, rather than eating just because it's 12 o'clock and it's lunchtime. If your body doesn't need it, then it's going to store it as fat. So I want you to stop thinking that way. Diets can also require removal of certain foods. For example, the keto diet or ketogenic diet requires you to remove carbs and sugar. The carnivore diet requires you to only have meat and nothing else. The shake diet, you can't have food, you can only have the shakes. So that becomes hard to sustain too. Especially when you're eating with others, with your family, when you're socializing, it becomes extremely difficult, and it's not something that's going to last for long. So you need to be able to still eat a variety of foods, so that way, including carbs, which is fine, there's no problem with that. There's no problem with bread either. And I've done a video on that, if you wanted to go into my channel and find that video. You need to get educated on the right nutrition and the right choices of foods and the right portions too. And this is what successful men do in order for them to get results. Because they do get results without having to cut out the carbs, the sugar, and those sort of things as well. Enjoying a variety of food is more enjoyable, and it's healthy for you too. Another reason diets don't work is because if you are someone that travels, whether it be for holidays or for work, it becomes difficult to stick to, because you won't have access to certain foods, you won't have access to a kitchen potentially, and you're out of your routine and your environment. So what successful men do is that they plan ahead. They don't wake up wondering what to eat. They have a system for things like meal prep and planning. They know exactly when their next meal is coming. And if they're, on the run, on the road, flying even, they know in advance what choices they're going to have, whether that be at an airport lounge or in the car with them. They might have things pre-packed, even on an aeroplane if they don't want to have the airplane food. Then you've got some things like some healthy snacks with you, some protein or nut bars and nuts and some fruit as well. Or even having a list of go-to restaurants that they've done their research for prior to going to that destination. So that way they have some structure and strategy in place and not making unrational decisions where, oh, you know what, McDonald's is right here. I'm going to go and have something there because I don't know what to do. I don't know what's around. So you need to be prepared. And let's not forget the motivation factor. Diets often rely on willpower and motivation, but as we all know, these are finite resources. Sooner or later, you're going to lose motivation and you're going to give up on your diet. So successful men, they understand the importance of mindset. They know that getting fit and healthy isn't just about the physical changes, it's about the mental shifts, about setting goals, both long-term and short-term, with timeframes attached to them. So for example, if you need to lose 50 pounds, saying I need to lose 50 pounds, it's going to take a while. So set that goal for that time frame, and then with the short-term goals, break it up into maybe 10 pounds at a time. So that way it doesn't seem so insurmountable. And when you reach that first goal, it gives you motivation, you celebrate, you reward yourself, and then you move on to the next goal. The other thing is establishing your why. Why do you want to lose your weight? Why do you want to get to your healthy weight and improve your health habits? There has to be some very strong reasons for you to do that, to keep you pushing through your journey, because it's going to be challenging. And for some men, it could be things like improving your health so that way you can be around longer for your family and your kids, and your grandkids potentially too. Or it could be having more energy levels so you can do more. Or it could be looking better, being proud of yourself and fitting to those clothes that you've still got in the wardrobe. And by having these strong reasons, it's going to help you get to your end goal and push through all those challenges. Because if you don't have it, your chance of success will reduce. The other thing is forming a new identity, that you're no longer the unhealthy and overweight man that you used to be. You leave that person behind and you step into that new identity, which means your choices need to change and follow along accordingly, because the previous choices that you did make is causing you to be overweight. So unless you accept that new identity, it won't work for you. So instead of saying, I can't eat that, successful men think, that's not who I am. It's not about restriction. It's about my identity, my new identity, who I want to be, who I choose to be, and the rest will follow along. So for example, the average guy's approach will say, I'm trying to be good. I can't eat that. I'm on a diet. But a successful man's mindset says, I'm a high performer. I fuel my body for success. I eat and drink with purpose. I make decisions that align with my goals. You need to give yourself those positive affirmations, because to establish a new identity, you need to transform. There's a transition phase that you need to go into, and that requires things like positive affirmations. For me, as a Christian, I have positive affirmations that I go through when I'm faced with challenges to start off my day, or when I'm faced with challenges. Things like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That I have the wisdom to make great decisions because I have the mind of Christ. And by me affirming this through myself, that establishes the identity of who I want to be and who I am. You also need to create a better environment. That's what successful men do. They hang around people that are fit and healthy and successful in all areas of life. And they clear out anything that doesn't serve their success. So if that means you need to leave some people that aren't serving you, that aren't giving you a positive influence, then you need to do that. If you're hanging around people that are mocking your decision to eat healthier and be healthier and fitter, then you may need to leave those people, because this is about you. Because if you don't look after yourself, who is? And who's going to look after your family if you're not around for them? even putting things around your house or your office or your car, getting rid of all the junk food and replacing it with leaner and healthier choices, which makes it a lot easier because wisdom is greater than strength. Successful men also, subscribe to this channel and like my videos. So if you haven't already, make sure to like this video if you want me to keep making more videos like this, and click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Successful men also prioritize consistency over perfection. It's a big one. Consistency always wins. And they know it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress. And they focus on building long-term habits that can be sustained in the long term rather than thinking about just the quick short-term results. They're also not afraid to seek help and guidance either. They work with experts and coaches who can provide them with personalized advice and support. And they understand that getting healthy isn't a solo journey because it becomes a lot harder if you're doing it on your own. And we've got someone supporting you and guiding you along the way that's been there before, that knows what they're doing and knows how to help you. That is extremely powerful, and your chance of success will be extremely high too. Accountability. Successful men know that accountability from a third party, not from a friend or a family member, because they can let you down. A third party that you've invested in can be a game changer, and that can skyrocket your success too. Because when you know that you need to report to someone regularly, you're going to be doing what you've been asked to do. And that's completely different from doing it on your own and not have to check in with anyone. So what can we learn from successful men? We can learn that getting healthy and losing fat isn't about diets or quick fixes. It's about making the sustainable lifestyle changes that work in with your lifestyle and allow them to achieve their desired weight and maintain that for life. Rather than following the restrictive diets, successful men focus on optimizing those healthy habits in their daily routine. We can learn that it's not about perfection, it's about learning, it's about progression, it's about balance, and it's about moderation. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's your experience been like with diets? Which ones have you tried before and failed? I'd love to see which ones you've tried. Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn how hundreds of the successful men that have reached their healthy weight that I've helped without exercise or extreme diets, you can click a video right here on this video right now. Click that and that'll give you some more information about how they did it all. I'm Andrew Drax. Please look after yourself so you can look after your family. Bye.